So there's been a lot of talk and a few trailers, right, for Granblue Versus in the past couple months. A lot of character reveals, a little bit more info. I wanted to take a minute to talk about them. I think that the last time I touched the game during the beta, I thought that it was pretty fun. Overall, I only have maybe like two or three small issues with gameplay mechanics. But aside from that, I thought the game for what it was really good. Obviously, it looks fantastic. Sound I thought was pretty cool. There's still some questions there about like net play and maybe some other issues or looming in the background. But for the most part, I have a pretty positive feeling about the game. That said, there is one thing that's kind of bugging me, and again, this goes back to like fighting game players and being consumers. I don't like the fact that this game is launching with 11 characters, and before we even it felt like before we even had a release date, we already had 4 DLC characters announced. I think that as a trend is really bad. Especially on this channel, we watched the GDC talks where like Arc goes into detail with how they animate and how they design the characters and the aesthetic behind their games. Right? There's obviously a lot of work, obviously a lot of attention to detail, obviously a lot of just cutting teeth that goes into building their games, and you get a pretty good aesthetic product, right? But there's a lot of time that goes into that. Despite that, day one, you're telling me I have 4 characters DLC. You could have just put those in the game. It feels like I'm being nickel and dimed, and it's not a terribly good feeling, to be honest with you. I hope that that's a trend that changes. I don't really understand it. I mean, I get it. It's just not good, I think. That said, they're doing something pretty cool. Something that I didn't think was I don't want to say I didn't think it was possible, but like I just didn't think that with the way that the game development cycle works, I didn't think it was reasonable. But what they're doing with the single player stuff in this game is pretty big, right? We've been talking about this a lot. It's been a theme, I guess, of discussion topics for a lot of the modern games on this channel, is looking at our games and hoping that developers would put more attention towards building a compelling package to players who don't necessarily play fighting games, as opposed to dumbing down or nerfing the gameplay in order to make it possible for them to play, right? This game's really going to push the envelope, I think, and kind of hit the next level in terms of single player content for that kind of thing with this RPG mode that they've announced. Look at what they're doing with it. This isn't like Xrd or like Dragon Ball, where it's just like some repetitive fight or just like a visual novel. They literally took a fighting game and then on the side made a Valkyrie profile indivisible style game out of it. If you recall, they were talking for a long time about like they couldn't do costumes in Xrd Sign because of, again, the process that they went through to create those models, right? They talked about the limitations or just like the sheer amount of man hours and work it would take to be able to try to create some of that stuff. But now, dude, they're showing weapon skins. They've leveled up, man. They leveled up. Now it seems like that's possible. And so what they prepared is this quest battle system, which I think they've already confirmed you can play with other people too. Yeah, locally or online. You can do co-op with this. I was really disappointed that, Tekken Force didn't make a comeback in Tekken 7 at some point to kind of do what I hope that what this mode does, and that's gamify the tutorial. Like, I want them to run into an enemy where every time they try to throw the enemy, it'll tech the throw. Every time they're trying to go mid or high, it'll break them. The only way to be able to beat the enemy is if they instant block every sequence of the attack, and they have to hit them with a super right after, something like that. Something to kind of make the learning experience more engaging and more fun. That's what I'm hoping this is. It looks really cool regardless. For a fighting game, like, man, can you imagine if some fighting games had this, where this is like the intersection between RPG and fighting game? The reason why I'm so blown away by this is because they literally made a game. How much of the dev cycle do you think this took? This had to have taken an insane amount of, it's a game within a game. This had to just taken an insane amount of resources. Soul Calibur has done it. Yeah, Soul Calibur has done it. There's games that have done stuff like this. But that's why I said I'm looking for it to be kind of an evolution of that, where tutorial, that challenge mode, those concepts to be drilled, but disguised learning tool, right? Yeah, and it seems pretty robust too, man. Like being able to customize your, it's not something super new like that, but the way this is done, come on, man, this is pretty sick. At least I hope, right? I hope that it turns out to be the kind of thing that we look at years from now and we're like, yeah, this was kind of where it took all the things that came before it and pushed the envelope, evolved, and now more devs are looking at the kind of result that this has, and then going from there, trying to incorporate that same mindset into other games. I think it's really cool. I think that to be honest with you, if it ends up where Granblue Fantasy as a game, it's whack or whatever, it's done in like 5 months, but we get this and this changes the game, I think that it's worth it. To be honest with you, that's in my opinion, this is my idea of what uh, would be compelling single player content. But hey, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below.